What they don't know is that if people are already in the environment, you don't know really right now if they were already there.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Incident Report presented by Quest Technology Management. I'm Paul Burke, Creative Director of Marketing, and every week I'm joined by VP of Sales and Partnerships, Adam Burke. The Incident Report brings you conversations with thought leaders, business innovators, and channel mavericks to help you stay productive and agile in a changing technology landscape. Today we welcome Mike Dillon, Chief Technology Officer for Quest. Mike brings over 27 years of disaster recovery, security, and engineering experience to his role. Dillon leads technology strategy development and planning and serves as Chief Consultant and Director for Quest Professional, Managed, and Cloud Services. As CTO, Dillon oversees a team of consultants, engineers, experts, and project managers. Dillon created and developed the Quest application and development service providers platforms that are ongoing today. Really excited today to have Mike Dillon of Quest Technology Management joining us. Mike, how are you doing?
Good, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Adam is here as well. Adam, thanks for joining us.
Paul, always a pleasure and an honor, and a privilege to be on the line with you and the esteemed Mike Dillon.
Adam, I feel the sincerity. So today, Adam and I wanted to talk to you, Mike, about Log4J, which has been out for a handful of weeks, and we just kind of wanted to start ground zero so you can help everybody. What is Apache Log4J?
Sure. So basic thought here, it's a Java-based application that is running with Apache software, and it does all the logging for any type of Java-based application. Logging for errors, logging for logons, events. It's the core. How do I troubleshoot my Java applications with Apache? And they use Log4j here for it. It's one of those tools that sort of is there. It's along with everything else on the Java-based world and Apache world. And it's just a tool. It's a logging tool that's been used for years. And somebody, found out a way here to get it compromised.
Is it open source? How many companies would be affected by this?
Well, it is open source, and who knows? I mean, again, Java and Apache's been around for years. And so it could be literally everybody in the world could be impacted. Even Microsoft was impacted with Minecraft. So literally about every vendor, every customer in the world could be impacted here.
This comes from a very honest perspective because I don't know a lot about Log4j. Is it something I can just uninstall and then be done with it and go about my day?
Not quite that easy. It depends on how people have programmed it. You can go out and find what they call the jar files, is what everyone's trying to find. You can go out and find those. But a lot of vendors right now, you can see vendors are still started, whatever it was, like December 10th to even today, currently, vendors are still going through all of their code. It could be hardware vendors, software vendors, cloud providers. Everybody's still going through all their code to figure out how to get this vulnerability cleaned up. Sometimes it can be real easy if it's on somebody's desktop and they've got Apache running on the desktop and you just need to remove it. But if it's tied to an application, it's not going to be easy as just removing. There are a lot of different vendors that have taken their time and try to find out where it's all at and how to remove it without impacting everything else. There is a purpose for it. And that's one of the challenges too, is, if you remove this from some of these tools, how do they again, work within some of the frameworks for the purpose of Log4j? So there's a purpose of Log4j, and people are now trying to, get in there and dissect and pull out the information that's not needed. What happened was that they actually got in to add services. So they created new features. And that's sort of what the vendors have to go through, is go and figure out how those new features could impact their software.
Mike, let's be honest, you're a very smart man, and I'm trying to follow along here. What is creating a new feature?
Well, the bad guys, the threat actors, created new features within Log4j.
Oh, so It's everybody has to go in and search for the new features and then find out a way to remove those.
Basically, yeah. There's a lot, obviously a lot of technical stuff behind that, but basically, and then the impact to their software tools.
I feel like a food analogy might be able to help out here. Just to,
Now we're
to keep it
talking.
real, to keep it real simple. Paul, you know my wife Kelly. She likes to check recall labels on bagged salad all the time because you get E. coli outbreaks and all nastiness in certain bagged salads around the world. If you don't know that, check out the CDC website sometime. Great information there. Now, if a certain batch of lettuce has an outbreak, it usually ties back to a specific factory, right? Mike, would it be way too off-putting here to compare? I got pudding and lettuce in this analogy. It's great. Would it be too far off to say that Log4j is not like one factory got some contaminated lettuce out to the supermarkets in the Northeast? It's more along the lines of, hey, there's something that could really hurt you in your food supply, and we're not quite sure exactly where it is. Just stop eating for a minute. Like, is that kind of the situation that the security world is dealing with here right now, as far as how to deal with this vulnerability? Not like one aspect of the food supply, but it's maybe water or something that's gone into what makes all these software platforms operate and report home and log events and all that kind of stuff. Is that kind of what we're dealing with?
Yeah, it definitely could be like your water analogy for like lettuce. So something got into the water in certain parts of the country and how they use the water and how they filter it or whatever, and detect if there's problems with the water, and then it gets into your lettuce. And then on the other coast, it got into your cattle feed, and on the south, it got into, corn or something. It could be something like that. We just know there's a possibility that something was planted, or you could just easily don't buy that head of lettuce until after this particular date. So it could be some of those type of examples too. It is one of those threats here that people realize that they got into the water, or they got into a pretty core system here with Apache, pretty widespread tool, and they're not quite sure of the impact it could be, and they're not really quite sure if it's been removed from everything.
That's a terrifying phrase. Not quite sure. How are teams becoming sure? How is that process happening?
Well, there's the obvious things like Adam's talking about, the analogy there. It's like the lettuce, going to CDC and looking at the lettuce bin numbers or whatever that they use there. People are doing that with their software vendors. Hey, software vendor, tell me if your software ABC has been compromised with this or not, and then give me the release or the update to it. But what they don't know is that if people are already in the environments, so if you had a Log4j situation where you had it running inside of your enterprise, you don't know really right now if they were already there. So they're telling you how to do a release and how to, close the hole, but you don't know on how many people have gotten through the hole. So people are trying to close the hole, right? Okay. Trying to do releases and patches and, vendor ABC, looking at this, looking at that. But we really don't know right now how far people have gotten in. We've seen some vendors, send out 2, 3, 4 releases because they keep on finding it.
Do you kind of see on the horizon a point where it's like, oh, it'll all get solved? Or literally right now, everybody's like, we have no idea. We're all just struggling.
Well, we're banking on hope. In the books we read, right? Hope is not a strategy. So a lot of people are banking on hope, hoping that they plugged the hole before somebody got in. I hope that they found all the holes. But like going back to the analogy that Adam had with like lettuce, it got into the water. And so you may have stopped eating lettuce or looked at the right certification or the right CDC number for lettuce, but you're not quite sure it's in the corn. And then the corn gets into bread, or it gets into chips or something.
Real quickly, for people who are less healthy out there, it could possibly get into Reese's peanut butter cups as well.
Yes, it could.
God forbid, but yes.
God forbid.
It will stop at nothing.
So is this a unique situation where it's almost an ongoing 0-day threat? Because 0-day, and correct me if I'm wrong, 0-day means that it is a vulnerability that is currently being patched. It feels like this is a situation where it's like we recognize it, we see it, we're trying to patch it, but we also might have to patch it again in the future because we missed something.
Or Mike, is patch the wrong term when we're talking about
Well, yeah.
Log4j?
Yeah, patching's kind of I know internally we talk about the word patch or release. Everyone's got to watch out for, saying a patch, because it
Okay.
could be, do this update and then you got to go in and do this reconfiguration. And that's just not just a patch. So it could be some of those exercises there too with it, but it's a threat. Industry has marked it as a critical threat here, a CV ranking of 10, so it's the highest it could go, and you just not quite sure if it's going to hit you, but it's around us, and that's the same way that this is here. It's Apache Log4j. It's just not going to go away tomorrow because all the vendors said, here's your release to do. This thing is around us.
So how was it discovered? Something so ubiquitous.
I've heard different, stories here, so I don't have the exact origin, but I've heard it even coming that it was Minecraft from Microsoft that first acknowledged the flaw. But, those are sort of rumors. I don't know who is the first person to identify it. Apache Log4j has been around for years, so it wasn't that. But I don't have the exact origin other than just people talking about, possibly Minecraft.
Got it. Well, Mike, thank you so much for joining me and Adam and just hanging out and sharing some information with us.
Yeah, thanks for the time.
We'll talk later, Mike. Thanks.
Take care.
Thanks so much for listening. The Incident Report is brought to you by Quest Technology Management. With over 40 years of experience, Quest is a leading technology integrator working seamlessly with your staff and systems to achieve your IT goals. Learn more about everything they do at questsys.com. And if you have questions or suggestions for the podcast, you can always email Adam and myself at theincidentreport@questsys.com. Links are in the description. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.